You can see him there. Sean was getting up onto him, and he's definitely full of life. He's got two handlers going around the parade ring with him. Like you said, we said earlier on, isn't he? He was keen that day at market raising, and Sam done a great job settling him and relaxing him and educating him. And again, I think this is, whatever happens today, I think this is going to be another step up in his education, because I think he's going to be a horse he'll need plenty of jumping and plenty of racing just to really settle down to him, because he's a relatively lightly raced flat horse as well, isn't he? So I suppose he is maturing, or he is going to get better hopefully with racing.
And he was the best of these that ran on the flat. Now, in some instances, that's not saying a lot, but he had the highest level of ability. He wouldn't be potentially the only keen goer in the lineup here, would he? Looking at some of them going around the parade ring.
No, we could have potentially we could have a lot of pace, but obviously a lot of these obviously haven't ran over hurdles as well. And you know, the problem is with keen horses going down to your first hurdle, sometimes if they're keen, they're not really looking at the hurdle, and then all of a sudden the hurdle is upon them, and then they duck and they dive, and it's whether Sean want to get into that sort of thing in front of him, you know, is anyone's guess. But look, I think if he was mine, I think I'd just let him go from the front, get him relaxed, let him see his hurdles, and again, it's another part of his education.
We saw most famously, didn't we, in that junior national hunt hurdle at Wetherby last autumn, what can happen when you're sitting in behind going to the first.
Alan Doyle caused that one. I name pick him that day, because he rang me afterwards and he said, "Did you see that?" Yes, I did, Alan. I did see that. Yes.
So about 10 million other people now.
But yeah, it's juveniles, their first runs, and that's the thing. Like you say, milers that are used to jumping the gates, going quick, they kind of half run for a little bit on one breath, and then all of a sudden they see a hurdle in front of them. They're like, "Whoa! I wasn't expecting that," and that's when they duck and dive around the place. So there's a few keen horses, and obviously Battle Stride, he's another horse. I'm not saying he's free, but he's in your hands the whole time, and he was at Utoxeter that day. But like you say, he travelled well the whole way. He's a little bit warm and a little bit sweaty down there. Jetpacker is another horse by Beta Brett. He's a good traveller. No Release, Keelan Woods takes the ride in him. I think he'll run well. He looks well around the parade ring.
Battle Stride, the outside of the field's been clipped into 80 to 1 from 100 to 1. Is it possible to argue, he has got some hurdling experience, is it possible to argue that he might be overpriced, Battle Stride?
I think so. For me personally, I thought the way I think it all depends on whether the wind operation has worked. And if the wind operation has worked, I'm fairly confident he'll run way above his price, especially in a race of this nature where you say there's a lot of milers in the race. There's a lot of horses. I think there'll be a few horses here that won't stay the trip. They're not quite good enough on the flat, so they're trying something different. So, yeah, I can see him running. If he's ridden quietly to get home, to finish second or third, I think he could run above his price. Do you think they've backed him at 100 to 1, and they're looking for the 80 to 1?
Well, there's a certain degree of excitement going on up in one of the corporate boxes, isn't there? Enjoying the afternoon, and I suppose why not? The alternative is being at work on a sunny Monday, October afternoon.
Not a bad place to spend your Monday afternoon, is it?
I think you're better off being at the races, aren't you? No indication really that Star Drop is in dropping his head at the start, but they're spaced out all over the place at the moment, aren't they, over there?
Yeah.
What's it like as a start? 2-mile hurdle here if you're on a keen going horse?
Yeah, you've obviously you start in the corner, didn't you? And it's a long run. We used to have 3 hurdles. There's only 2 hurdles now. The good thing about it is the first hurdle comes up at you relatively quick, so you don't have them long runs. You don't have 2 furlongs of run before you get to the first hurdle. So that's always a benefit, especially when you're on a keen one.
But they are beginning to move in the right direction. Star Drop lining up at the front alongside Pistrucci. And they're off and racing the dragonbet.co.uk on-course service online juvenile hurdle. And Star Drop is going to lead to the first from Pistrucci. Jetpacker in 3rd place. Pistrucci was awkward. Everything has got from one side to the other. In 3rd place, Jetpacker. And the front 3, where Star Drop is in front by 3 or 4 lengths coming to the 2nd. Pistrucci a bit better there, Jetpacker 3rd. just reaching for it in 5th place, Battle Stride behind No Release, and Africa Charm is just about the back marker early on, but will be 15 to 20 lengths behind the leader, Star Drop. And Star Drop is 5 lengths in front of Pistrucci, the best turned out winner in 2nd. The gap is rather similar back to the 3rd placed Jetpacker, dark blue, yellow and green. In 4th place then is No Release, ahead of Africa Charm and Battle Stride. So Star Drop, who's had one previous go at this over hurdles and was 2nd at Market Raisin, going freely around the turn, was 2nd to a winner who was completing a hat-trick there. Star Drop well clear of Pistrucci, just wanders around a little, but was fluent over the 3rd, and all of them getting over that. Star Drop 10 lengths clear now of Pistrucci, who's about 3 or 4 up on Jetpacker. Another 4 or 5 to No Release, ahead of Africa Charm, and Battle Stride is the back marker, but Star Drop's lead is getting wider and wider over the road crossing and running to the 4th flight of the 8 in the hands of Sean Bowen. Again, has a look and a wander, but through the air, he jumps it fine. The others just getting over it now, and all of them from A to B. Star Drop with a 15-length advantage, maybe 20, running towards number 5. So it is Star Drop in the colours of the Gredley family, well clear of Pistrucci now. Coming into the next, Star Drop. Over that one fine. Pistrucci just clearing it now in 2nd. There's not much to choose between the other 5 now, but they're 25 lengths adrift of Star Drop. Currently Pistrucci is in 2nd, Jetpacker in 3rd, then No Release, Africa Charm and Battle Stride. But getting back to where they started, this dragonbet.co.uk on-course service online juvenile hurdle. A lead of a vast margin held by Star Drop over the 3rd last. Coming to it now in 2nd, maybe 20 lengths down, Pistrucci. And Jetpacker on the outside of that one, and then No Release, Africa Charm and Battle Stride. This is the 2nd last flight for Star Drop, and is over it, a long way clear. Jetpacker is now in 2nd place, but they're bunching up, battling at the moment for 2nd. Coming up and over the mound, it is Star Drop, still 20 lengths clear. Africa Charm trying to close with No Release. Battle Stride has gone 4th. Pistrucci is weakened right out of it, and Jetpacker is also struggling to get home. Star Drop's lead has been reduced now. It's only 10 lengths. They are eating into Star Drop's advantage. Africa Charm, the filly, on the outside of No Release. Sean Bowen hasn't pushed any buttons yet on Star Drop, but they're within 4 or 5 lengths now as they run onto the home turn. Africa Charm in 2nd, No Release in 3rd, clear of Battle Stride. Bowen just starts to get to work on Star Drop now. Africa Charm in 2nd. In 3rd is No Release. This is the final flight. Star Drop is joined by Africa Charm on the outside. Star Drop, a furlong to run, is going to have to dig in here. Africa Charm and Lee Edwards on the outside. Africa Charm has got past Star Drop. We're going to have a turn up here. Africa Charm, the filly, in front by a length, and Africa Charm wins for Henry Oliver. Star Drop 2nd. In 3rd, No Release, clear of Battle Stride.
Well, it might only have been an extended 2-mile juvenile hurdle on decent ground here at Stratford, but it was a slow motion finish, and at 28 to 1, Africa Charm has made a successful hurdling debut for Henry Oliver, and the team. Lee Edwards in the saddle has just about managed, Harold, to grind down the odds-on favourite Star Drop, who at one stage would have been 30 lengths clear, but he was doing it all on his own terms, and he just would not settle.
Wouldn't settle, and you got an awful lot of credit has to go to Sam Twiston-Davies the last day, tried to get this horse to settle. This horse was so keen the last day, and the way Sam tried to manage him, and that was the thing we talked about beforehand. What did he do with this horse and part of his education? Like you say, if you go to the front and they run on one breath like what this horse did today, you're not going to find a whole lot, whereas the last day they tried to settle him and trying to get him thoroughly. This is all about the education for this horse. This horse has to settle down. You can see the way he's still got a high head carriage, and we've seen him in the parade ring walking around. He's a highly strung horse. He doesn't give himself a chance, and Lee Edwards here on the outside on African Charm, lowest weight, the only filly in the race, got the low weight as taking advantage of a horse that's basically done himself in, really.
Yeah, and it did take her a while to get on top, and in truth, neither of the first two were going anywhere, really, were they, on the run-in? Because No Release, who's much further behind them at the last, is not actually beaten that far in third.
No Releases, they'll take a lot of credit from that. That was a nice run, a tidy run in third. Jumped a little bit obviously at the start, but kind of was slowly gaining on him. I wouldn't say really rapidly gaining, but slowly gaining on him. Look, Sean, he had no control. The horse ran on one breath for the whole way, and I could see with Sean Bowen's body language is when he jumped the second last down the far side, he can see what he was trying to do. He's trying to get the horse to come back, and try to fill him up again and try and hope. But I knew when Sean was coming into the home straight, I knew his body language. He was hanging on to absolutely nothing. The horse has just done far too much. And when you run on one breath like that, over, doesn't matter whether it's over 2 miles of sharp track, whatever you want to call it, you're not going to get home.
And it was the case here, albeit that he hasn't been beaten that far. He's only gone down by a length and a half, but until he settles in his races, then he isn't going to realise the potential that clearly he might have over hurdles. He's been beaten at a short price here, and it's gone to the 28-to-1 chance. Africa Charm, Lee Edwards teaming up with Henry Oliver.
And well done to the winning owner.